Hello, we're back after not as long of a hiatus. Marcus White, Conall McNeil, it's the Puckleheads. Shout out to all the WERW heads that have still been enjoying our takes. All since 2014, Conall. It's been 4 years since we started doing this in the basement of the Shine Student Center.
Right.
Arguably much better setup than the one we have currently, but life gets in the way.
It does. It does. Part two here of our playoff preview. Marcus, sometimes the sequel is better than the first edition. I mean,
yeah, I would say so.
Empire Strikes Back, Dark Knight, Godfather 2, Terminator 2, I think should be in there probably.
Last Jedi. Sorry.
Last Jedi, which listen, we could do a Star Wars movie podcast another day of the week, which would actually be a lot of fun.
All I'll say is this: I rewatched The Last Jedi last week.
I haven't seen it since I loved it. My first reaction, I saw it before you, is how much I fucking loved it. So
I mean, if people don't like that movie, man, I just I don't know what to do. Like it's like not appreciating, like trying to think of a good hockey analogy, like a team that's been like fun and like changed things up, and then you're like, oh, I don't like them because they're new and different. It's like, okay.
It's basically like Star Wars fans are mad that it's not identical to the rest of the movie.
And not all Star Wars fans, mind you, just a very vocal minority on the internet.
I don't understand. I loved it. I gotta watch it again.
But a lot of baby boomers who don't like the idea of a plot that's about a movie plot that's about how boomers kind of screwed the world and how it's on a young, diverse generation of kids to kind of fix their mistakes and beat back fascism. I don't mean to get too like.
I know it's true. And there was a little bit of running around in the plot, like a couple subplots that like you probably could have like not gone into as much, but like.
But I'll defend those till I die. I'll defend the necessity of those till I die.
Like the whole like Rose and
yes, because Finn needed to like learn that he was in the Resistance for reasons beyond saving his own ass.
That's fair. That's a good plot point.
And he did. But he went to Canto Bight, and it was a cool like parallel to the Cantina. It was a wretched hive of scum and villainy, but like 1% wretched hive of scum and villainy. Anyway, we're getting to it. We're getting too into the weeds.
Screw it. It's a Star Wars podcast now. Screw the playoffs.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'll make the switch.
Oh boy, Marcus, we are T-minus less than 2 hours from the start of the playoffs. I got the NHL Network going in the background here. Tonight, I want to make sure I got it right. We have Penguins, Flyers here will be the first game. Ducks, Sharks tonight, and then
Ducks Sharks tomorrow. Ducks Sharks tomorrow.
Sorry, yeah. So here we go. Jets, Wild, Penguins, Flyers, Kings, Golden Knights, and of course the NHL can't get anything right because Minnesota and Winnipeg are starting at the exact same time as Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. They can't split that up by 30 minutes, Marcus. 30 minutes, so I'm now going to have to wear my hand out. I'm going to have a beer in one hand, my remote in the other, and I'm going to be looking too much.
Connell's carpal tunnel is the biggest loss.
That's my concern. I'm a selfish
guy. I think there's maybe this is a pod for another time, but, I had the day off for the first day of March Madness this year, and it was the first day, since, even when I was in college, I still had class. It was the first day I really had off to just do nothing and watch that. And I got to say, it's a pretty unparalleled sports experience. And I know how much people love the NHL playoffs, that John Boy's tweet about how it's like snorting cocaine on the wing of an airline is pretty accurate. Not that I don't know what that you feel. I got to find the tweet. I don't want to paraphrase him wrong. But I just think with that excitement, staggering the game, so you have the potential for late finishes and overtimes overlapping. I don't know if it's possible, but maybe open the playoffs on a Saturday and kind of stagger the games because I hate to say it, but that's what a more successful league that in the NBA does. So
I like that though. The Saturday have a 1 o'clock, a 3 o'clock, a 7 o'clock, and a 10 o'clock.
And at the same time, people are used to doing it for March Madness. You could totally get people to take off for the first day of the start if you did it on a Thursday and you started the playoffs that way.
It'd be fun. I just there's no reason there couldn't be a 30-minute difference in the start time.
Oh, that's the least thing.
I mean, that a third. I'm not asking you to just change the day of the game. Give me 30 minutes difference here. Really would make a big difference to me. Folks, hopefully you saw yesterday.
I found the tweet. I'm sorry. I found the tweet. I didn't want to get it inaccurate. It was from John Boyes of SB Nation. Or I think he is of SB Nation still. Why watch overtime playoff hockey when you could simply snort cocaine and ride a motorcycle out of a helicopter?
That would be a hell of an experience. I mean, go for it, I guess. I haven't done anything that crazy. I like to think I'm a little bit of a fun.
Other than watch NHL playoff overtime.
That's right. Other than that, which Marcus won't get the experience this year, but Marcus has seen two of my bigger. He's been around for a couple big overtime celebrations.
Right.
So you were there for Stepan Game 7, 2015, and then last year you saw Zibanejad against the Habs there. So
yeah.
Marcus has a good record when it comes to Ranger playoff overtime games in my house, which I do not. So we know. I do not. They almost always lose, I feel like.
I'm looking forward to when the next time the Rangers are in the Cup, and it'll be mid-game, and Connell's like, we got to fly you over here. I'm like, Connell, teleportation doesn't exist. I know, but we just got to fly you over here. I'll look forward to the retainer fees I'll collect by just living in your basement when the Rangers are in the Cup final.
That's right. We're just going to stuff you in there. It could be years down the road. I could be married with kids, and my wife would be like,
we could be 75.
Yeah, it's true. It's very plausible. It's like, what the hell? Who the hell? What? Who's that guy downstairs?
Connell, they won the game.
Oh, God. All right, we got to get off this tangent here as we move in to the Western
tangents, the Avalanche. No,
that's right. The Western Conference playoffs. Yesterday we did the Eastern Conference playoff picture. Marcus and I both agreed, had Tampa in the finals. And we're gonna do the same format as we did yesterday, ranking each team from 8 to 1, basically. Reasons why they should win the Stanley Cup. Once again, that doesn't mean they can win the Stanley Cup or that
they will.
Or that they will win the Stanley Cup. Please don't take this to heart. But we're gonna rank them 8 to 1. And then at the end, we'll wrap it up going series by series, and we'll give you our Stanley Cup picks. And then we'll ultimately crown our winner, which, as you guys have learned from 4 years of this, is always right.
We've never been wrong. Not once.
We're batting virtually 1,000 here.
We are the Shohei Ohtani of picking Stanley Cup games.
That's right. We're just unbelievable. Just like last year, Connor McNeil is picking Minnesota to go to the finals and losing in 5 games in the first round.
Just like Mike and the Mad Dog never said that Shohei Ohtani would be a bust and a really bad baseball player, with some thinly veiled xenophobia. We never got picks wrong.
That's right. That's right. Mike Moncler, go ahead.
Listen, I never said Ohtani was going to be bad, okay?
The best was Wyshynski and Loza on Puck Soup when they would be reading the final stretch of the schedule and they just immediately switch to Mike and the Mad Dog. Oh God!
Yeah, radio. There's nothing quite like it.
There's nothing like Mike and the Mad Dog Sports Radio on the Fan. But we know one thing: they never ranked NHL teams. That's for sure.
Yes.
They never did that. Marcus, number 8 in the West, the team we probably think has the least chance to win the Stanley Cup. I have Colorado. I believe you do too.
Yeah, sorry, I just my eyes convulsed out of my head because you sounded like a demon for a second when you said Colorado. Something with the mic. I digress. Yeah, I've got Colorado number 8. Much like New Jersey, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take Jonathan Bernier standing on his head, which we've seen him do before at times. And I don't think he's a bad goalie by any means. He's definitely helped keep that season afloat. Nathan McKinnon will have to continue to be extremely awesome. I think the more interesting conversation around the Avalanche lies with their Eastern Conference counterpart, the New Jersey Devils, who we spoke about yesterday in our Eastern Conference preview.
Very similar teams.
Who do you think's carried their team more? Who's had a worse supporting cast? Because on the one hand, the Avs finished with 48 points last year. But on the other hand, Mikko Rantanen's been damn good with McKinnon, and I think it's just been an evolution of age in that, he's a year older, a year more experienced, and coming into his own in the league. I would maybe make the argument that the Devils had the worst supporting cast, even though I recognize that the Colorado Avalanche finished 31 points behind the second to worst team in the NHL last year.
I would agree. I think Taylor Hall has a lot less to work with. At least he's got Rantanen. Landeskog actually has had a nice bounce back year for himself after a couple of years where it looked like that contract was going to get ugly for Colorado. Obviously, Tyson Barrie in the blue line, the Devils really don't have a defenseman like that.
Nor do they have one like Eric Johnson, who's hurt and will not play for the Colorado Avalanche this series.
So, yeah, I would agree. I think Taylor Hall's had to do a little bit more than Nathan MacKinnon, although both are just electric players to watch, that's for sure.
So much fun.
MacKinnon is just on. Oh, my God. He's. I mean, both players have pretty much single-handedly carried their teams into postseason play. And
you got to give credit to the coaching staffs, too. If Vegas didn't exist, John Hines and Jared Bednar, who's the coach of the Avalanche, Jared Bednar would probably be getting a lot more love for Coach of the Year. And he came in last year under difficult circumstances. Patrick Waugh decided very late in the game he didn't want to coach. And then Bednar had an abbreviated offseason with a team that, wasn't quite his team. But now you're seeing what he's done at every level, really, and that's make the playoffs. And
I think both guys still have a chance to be in the finalist. I would imagine Cassidy out in Boston probably is going to be up there too. But yeah, I think Colorado's been a nice story. It's good for them to make this comeback. I'm going to say a big contribution to their turnaround this season was the move to Adidas for these jerseys, because their jerseys benefited so much because they got that bottom striping back.
Yes.
They lost. Yes. The Reebok Edge jerseys were terrible for Colorado, but now their jerseys look a lot more like the Joe Sakic, like late 90s Colorado jerseys. So I'm not saying, but I'm saying.
They're also one of two teams that qualified for the playoffs that was involved in the Matt Duchene trade, the other of which acquired Matt Duchene and isn't in the playoffs. And
Colorado did fantastic for themselves in that trade, by the way. They
came up huge in that last game of the regular season.
Yeah, that was I like Gerard. I saw him a little bit playing there in Nashville, but yeah, good for Colorado. But yeah, unless Nathan MacKinnon's just like as we talked about, just like if the Devils want to win that first round series, basically Nate MacKinnon's going to have to
clone himself.
He's going to have to basically 2.5 points a game.
Ensure that his cloned self can also play hockey at a high level.
That's right. And Bernier is going to be playing 940 hockey, especially when they're going up against the big Brad Preds there, who we'll touch on later. So Colorado, not a great chance to get out of that series. Can't see them really making a run at it, but have them in our 8th spot for our Western Conference rankings. Team number 7, Marcus, a team who took a huge injury blow at the end of the season. The state of hockey itself, the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, I'd like the Wild, I think, a lot more if Suter was healthy. But I think I'd still have them at this 7th spot.
I probably would too.
Strangely enough, this is a Bruce Boudreau team that isn't very good in terms of puck possession. One of the few teams he's coached that sits below that 50% mark. We talked about yesterday, though, how, the gaps are closing. So a 48% possession team now isn't quite as bad as, a 48% possession team was as recently as, 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, this is a weird, Wild team. Eric Stahl should, I think, get some MVP love. This is a guy whose career looked gone, and he's now scored, 40 goals this year. On maybe the best contract in the league. Conall shakes his head because he's like, why couldn't he have done that in New York?
Because Alain Vigneault turned a number 2 center into a third-line left winger and didn't put him on the power play and wonders why he wasn't successful. I hope that guy never coaches a game again.
He's going to get a job next year.
I know he is. Hopefully it's like hopefully he goes and ruins, the Islanders are going to hire him and then he's going to run that franchise.
I mean, Doug Weight. I
feel bad for Doug Weight, but
I do too, but they're a bad defensive team.
Oh my God, what a nightmare they are.
But yeah, the Wild are strange this year, or the Wild is strange this year. Excuse me. That's a singular noun for those kids who like grammar. They're a weird team. Devin Dubnyk, not quite up to the, level of Doobie from previous years. This feels like just like a lesser Wild team, and even those Wild teams didn't really go deep in the postseason. So
this is a worse team than they've had, and they have a terrible matchup. And they lost their best defenseman, maybe their second or third best player. So
yeah, a guy who's playing like 26 minutes a night. That's going to take a lot.
Ryan Suter quietly, I mean, he has 50 points this year too. Real quick, I just need to bring this up. The Zach Parise contract is flirting with worst contract in the league right
now. How many more years is he signed for?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 more years at 7.538 with a full no move. Zach Parise had 24 points in 42 games this year.
He was decent coming back from injury.
He was okay coming back from injury and a nice little stretch. Since being in Minnesota, by the way, he's only cracked the 60-point plateau once.
We'll always have 2010. What do you think? What has to break for the Wild here to win this series?
I mean, it's cliche. All this goaltending has to work, go down here, and you could also say goaltending on the other side with Winnipeg, which hasn't been phenomenal this year by any means.
Well, Hellebuyck has.
Hellebuck's been fine. Sorry, I just want to check something out real quick.
Very good.
You pretty much have to hope that Hellebuyck is not Hellebuyck. You basically got to hope Steve Mason or someone gets in the nets if you're them. And then with the amount of scoring depth Minnesota, Winnipeg has, I just think it's too much. The top line or two from Minnesota could hang, maybe, but once it gets past that, it's going to be a tough time. You're going to need a guy like Eric Stahl to continue his pace. You're going to need guys like Mikko Koivu to keep their form, basically. And basically, Matt Dumba is going to have to basically play 30 minutes a night. I mean, he now becomes your number one defenseman outside of Ryan Suter. And Matt Dumba's a fine player, but
play a little more as well.
What's that?
Spurgeon and Brodin are going to have to probably play like 28 and 29 minutes.
Exactly. You're pretty much going to ride your top 3 defensemen into the ground and kind of hope it works out for them. I don't see them having a ton, so they're gonna need a lot of bounces to say the least. If they go down 2-0 in Winnipeg, this series is over in 4 or 5 games. The only chance they have to really prolong is they're gonna have to find a way to steal one of these first 2 games. Punch him in the mouth. Dubnyk steals a game where they get outshot 50-21, but win it 2-1 kind of thing.
And do you think Dubnyk's a good enough goalie to do that?
He's certainly fallen off to where he used to be. Right. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's still at a 19-18 save percentage. I mean, it's not elite goaltending. Goaltending, but it's not a slouch either.
He had a 1,918 or a 918. 1918. Because if he had a 1,918, he'd be a better goalie than is statistically possible.
Yeah, that's right. 918. Sorry, I was thinking about the 1918 Boston Red Sox. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I mean, that makes a ton of sense.
Which happens all the time.
Who among us hasn't thought about the 1918 Boston?
Or Marcus, the 1917-18 NHL season, which was actually canceled due to the flu. They didn't play the Stanley Cup because of the flu. Everyone got the flu.
I love old hockey stories like that. Yeah, I think the Wild is going to have a tough time here. Number 6, a team that may not have such a tough time, hasn't had a tough time in the past, although is back in the playoffs, maybe isn't at their best, but is better in one area than maybe they've ever been, which should terrify everyone else, and that's the Los Angeles Kings. And the area they're better than they've ever been is arguably in net. Jonathan Quick is playing extremely well. Fans of the Puckleheads know I've long beaten the drum that Quick got hot those playoff runs and hasn't really sustained that kind of level of performance over a full regular season. He's done it this year.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's going to be probably a finalist for the Vezina Trophy. He's been really the team. This is the first time in over a decade that the Kings have not been a strong possession team, Marcus. And he's basically the roles were reversed for a long time. That team kind of carried him. Not saying carrying. We're not saying Jonathan Quick's a terrible goaltender.
I never thought he was bad. He's just I think he played his best in the playoffs. And again, we've talked about this. I don't know if that means that that doesn't necessarily make you a proven playoff performer, because we're already kind of arbitrarily splitting a sample size, and guys have had great 30-game runs all the time. What he's done this year has doubled that, and I think has been his most impressive season as a starter.
Easily, when you think of the Kings not as strong of a team, and he's been in net there and has played, what, he's 924 save percentage, somewhere around there, I believe.
I'm looking at Corsica right now. I'm going to look at his 5-on-5, so keep talking.
Yeah, give me his 5-on-5 stats there. It's above 920. I believe 924, if I saw correctly the other day. I'm not sure if that's 5-on-5. I think that was all areas of the ice. But Marcus, I was looking at this, this matchup, and we have the Kings there at number 6. They're going to be playing Vegas. We'll touch on it a little bit.
9,286 even strength save percentage. His goals saved above average, which is a metric kind of like WAR that is cumulative, and it's the goals. The goals he let in based on the shot quality he faced. Actually, he's not. I don't think he's great by the. Oh no, excuse me. He is. He's 5th in the league in goals saved above average. 11 and a half goals saved above average, meaning you put an average goalie in his place based on the shot quality. The Kings allow 11 more goals. A win is worth about 6 goals of goal differential. So, they don't have Quick this year. They don't make the playoffs.
No, Marcus, they do not. And another role reversal, which is so bizarre with the Kings, is basically their 5-on-5 play has really dropped, but their goaltending and also their special teams has improved immensely. I believe I just read via The Athletic. I was doing a little research earlier that over the past 30 games, the Kings are the only team in the top 5 in power play and penalty kill to end the season. So if you look at both teams in Vegas and the Kings, and we'll get into Vegas here, I guess, Marcus, because we both have them at 6 and then 5 here. So we'll talk about this matchup a little bit. Both are middle of the road at best to the below average 5-on-5 possession teams. And but the real advantage could come with, and the goaltending probably washes it out with Quick and Marc-Andre Fleury, who's been fantastic this year as well. The special teams could come down to it, and that's where the Kings have a real advantage over Vegas in this first round series. Everything else is basically, wipe it out, end score 0 there, if you will. But the power play and the penalty kill for LA has been phenomenal, which in both of their cup runs, it was not at all. But their special teams was a liability, frankly.
Right. In expected goals is a metric that, it is what it says, the goals you'd expect to score kind of based on the shot quality they produce. The Kings and the Golden Knights are both in the bottom third of expected goals for.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at per 60 minutes of even strength. And then in terms of expected goals against, looking that up right now, the Kings are in the top, near the top third in terms of expected goals against, but Vegas is, or am I reading this wrong? I might be reading it wrong. No, I'm not reading it wrong. I'm reading it correctly.
You're right. I was just reading this beforehand.
Vegas is actually a better team by both expected goals for and expected goals against. I know we've talked about how Vegas is not quite what they, what they were initially this year, but that's still a pretty darn good hockey team. And, especially considering what they were as an expansion team, it's kind of amazing to think about. They've struggled a bit down the stretch, but they weren't exactly healthy. Perron and Riley Smith missing time. I know the Kings are getting back, Jeff Carter, which is going to be a big boost. But, I agree with you. We've got the Kings the Knights 5th above the Kings because I think they edge them out. There is that special teams edge. But 5-on-5, where most of the series is going to be played, the Knights are a better team. But I think if it comes down to goaltending, we've seen Quick do it before in the playoffs. Yes, we've seen Fleury do it in the playoffs. And yes, Fleury's been great this year. But Quick's been even better than Fleury this season. And if it comes down to goaltending, I think the Kings are going to advance. I think this is one of 2 7-game series in the first round. But I have it going to the Sweet Golden Knights.
I do too. I would have Knights at 7, pretty much edging them out. When you look at both teams, as far as everything goes, I think it's pretty much even series. I think it's a coin flip. Frankly, if there's one team I'm going to really, really, really give that home ice advantage to in the playoffs, Marcus, Vegas has had it all year. I think this is a series that'll probably go 7 games, and because of that home ice advantage in Game 7, I'll give it to the Knights. LA, they need their superstars to take over. We talked about star power a little bit yesterday.
And Kopitar's been good enough this year to do that.
You basically, if LA is going to win this series, Jonathan Quick, Drew Doughty, and Anze Kopitar need to be by far the three best players on the ice. I think the depth of Vegas helps them with their lower end stuff, especially when you think about a guy like Torrey Mitchell or something like that playing for LA. Although Ryan Reeves has been getting a fairly regular shift since he's gone to Vegas. It shows you every team seems to have their flaws, which is incredible. When he's playing over guys like Oscar Lindbergh and players who at least can contribute on your lower lines. But coin flip, both teams need goaltending. The star power of the Kings and a little bit special teams. The depth of Las Vegas is what could help them make a run at it if they're going to go for it here in the playoffs.
And you mentioned those three. They have the three at the big three positions: center, defenseman, goaltender. The Kings have the best three players in this series. They have the best goalie.
Agreed.
They've got the best center. They've got the best defenseman.
Yep. Agreed.
I think the Kings are a little better on the blue line than the Knights. I'm not a little better. I think the Knights are. I mean, Derek Anglin's still skating in their top four.
The Knights' blue line is certainly in question. So it's basically the Knights' forward depth versus the Kings' defensive depth. I think that's like where the big matchup is.
And the Knights have had, they've had enough from their forwards in this series. I think the Kings can win, like you said. Those three have to be their best players, but I'm really going to be looking at Kopitar and Doughty going against that Marchessault, Carlson, and Riley Smith line. That's been arguably the best line in hockey. And if they get the better of that Kopitar line, I think that's enough for Vegas to advance. But it's going to be a fun series. I think the Pacific Division has, outside of Boston and Toronto, has the two most fun series in it in the first round.
Completely agree there, Marcus. As well, I guess we'll move right into the other series. San Jose, Anaheim here, Marcus. I know, and the reason we're categorizing both of these teams are once rather than doing 3 and 4, because I think we both argued our cases beforehand and kind of convinced each other the other way, to the point that we almost switched our picks before this. We decided we're going to stay with what we have. 3A and 3B, basically, as far as I'm concerned here. This is as close of a first round series, I think, as we're going to see. I think we have potential for. I have 3 potential game 7s in the first rounds, both in the Pacific Division and then that Boston-Toronto series. But I think this is a difficult one. You look at the Sharks here, probably for the value-wise, probably the best trade deadline pickup in Evander Kane throughout the league.
And Eric Fair, too. I questioned the trade when they first made it. He hadn't played in the NHL all year. All they gave up was a 6th-round pick in 2020. Before he got hurt, he was really, really good on their fourth line. His expected goals numbers are still the best among any Sharks forward that's played at least 50 minutes this season. This is a guy who's played in the AHL. He's played with the San Diego Gulls. He's played really well and really kind of stabilized that fourth line that, I think there was arguable whether or not it needed stabilizing. But he's been excellent, and he's really surprised me here since he's come to the Sharks. That's maybe a shrewder pickup than Kane, which, like you said, looks like maybe the best deal at the deadline.
Absolutely. When you think about that, obviously injuries on both sides, Marcus. Jumbo Joe Thornton looks like he will not be in this series. In all likelihood, it sounds like Cam Fowler will miss all the series. John Gibson is coming back for the Ducks. So listen, Marcus, these are two teams I know you see a lot of, obviously growing up a Sharks fan and now covering the Sharks. So for the Sharks to win this series and make a run at the Cup, what would they have to do? What is the key to their success? What is their X factor?
So I don't mean to plug my own work, but I wrote a piece that came out today about
plug away. This is our podcast.
Five key questions.
Plug away.
5 key questions that are going to have to be answered in this series, and one of the key questions, and this is going to be oddly specific, but hear me out. I think one of the key questions is goaltending, but specifically goaltending on the penalty kill. Hear me out on this.
Okay.
John Gibson's been one of, if not the best goalies this year, regardless of situation. That includes 5-on-5. That includes the penalty kill. Jones hasn't quite been at his level 5-on-5, but has been on the penalty kill. And the big reason why both teams have a great penalty kill is because of their goaltending. They're both kind of middle of the road in terms of shot scoring chances against. I think the I think the Ducks allow the 9th most, and I think the Sharks allow the 15th most. I might be mixing those two up, but their underlying numbers wouldn't indicate 2 of the top 5 penalty kills in the league. It's really been driven by goaltending. The Ducks, worst penalty differential in the league by far. I think they're minus 60 when you take into account all situations. So if the Ducks continue to parade to the penalty box and Gibson falters even slightly, the edge I think they get at even strength by having him is mitigated. And then on the flip side, Jones is going to have to continue to stand tall on the penalty kill, assuming that he can't match Gibson's level of 5-on-5 performance. And I think we've seen enough of both goalies in their careers to say Gibson's the better goalie.
Yeah, I would.
But that's why I say penalty kill goaltending, because I think the Sharks can stay in games if they kill penalties. They're very disciplined. They don't go to the box much. And the Ducks are going to take themselves out of games if they continue their parade to the penalty box. I mean, minus 60 is their penalty differential in all situations. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible stuff there. Another series, then I guess it sounds like where special teams could really come into play there. Depending on if,
the gaps are so small between the teams 5-on-5.
Yeah, it truly is. What about the Ducks then, Marcus? So do you think it's the same thing for them?
Yeah, I think penalty kill goaltending is going to be big. I think one of their keys that I wrote about, can Corey Perry get hot? For just the second time in his career, he's scored fewer than 20 goals in 2 straight seasons. And this is a guy who was one of the league's best goal scorers. Now, his shot rates are down individually. He's shooting at the lowest rate of his career, 5-on-5. He's getting older. He's 33 years old. But there's still a little bit of wiggle room. If you look at his individual expected goals, and got to shout out Sean Tierney of Charting Hockey. He does a great job.
Sean Tierney's awesome.
He visualizes a lot of great info that comes from Emmanuel Perry's Corsica site. Got to give them a shout out as well. I think Corey Perry scored about 6.5, so let's just say 7 fewer goals than expected. If he gets some regression to the mean, this Ducks team is already as deep, if not a little deeper, than the Sharks up front. Andre Casa is very good. Ricard Raquel, Adam Henrique, pre-deadline trade, but maybe one of the best in-season pickups of the year. He's been excellent. Someone you saw a lot of, obviously from his time in the Metro. That was not meant to dredge up 2012 memories. But I know it did the job. I'm sorry.
Henrik Lundqvist had a 1.97 goals against in that playoffs. If anybody could put the goddamn puck in the net on that team probably should have been the Stanley Cup, and I think would have had a better chance of beating a Kings team than the 13-14 Rangers team, just to why the style they played a little bit more. Yeah, that's a goddamn travesty.
So I think Perry's going to be key, but it's also going to be key how well Lindholm and Manson do. We talked about this before the show. They might be the best top pairing in the entire league in terms of driving play. They're great by expected goals. They just crush teams in terms of goal differential, and puck possession wise relative to their teammates. They're as good as any pairing in the league. But they're going to probably play close to 30 minutes a night. Carlisle's done this before and has done it against the Sharks. I looked it up. Both Chris Pronger and Scott Niedermayer averaged right around 25 minutes a game in the first round series against the Sharks back in 2009. I'm not saying Lindholm and Manson are Niedermayer and Pronger, but he's gotten it done riding his top 2 horses, and they're going to need to ride them because, frankly, with Boschman in their top 4, and then they've got 2 rookies, Marcus Pettersson and Andy Walensky, playing on the third pairing. They were at least playing on the third pairing at the end of the year. They might get Kevin Bieksa back, but he's not great. If Lindholm and Manson are as good as advertised and their depth defensemen just hold enough, I think they can get past the Sharks. I don't think it's going to be easy for either team. All these differences we talk about are just just the margins. And so if Corey Perry can get a little hot, that might be enough to put the Ducks over the top in 7. I think this is the truest coin flip of the postseason, and that's why I'm talking about things as inane as goaltending on the penalty kill.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense to me. Should be a fun series. I'm going to be able to track that one too, so I'm looking forward to that.
Look at you. We're both plugging our work here.
That's right. ClearSight Analytics, folks. Check it out. We just put out some more data yesterday. Check out my Twitter. I retweeted it. At the number 2 spot,
at CT McNeilis, everyone.
At CT McNeilis, hashtag Coach Conall. And then Clear Sight Analytics.
Clear Sights, full hearts, can't analytic. Oh, damn it.
That's right. Wow, I'm gonna see if we can put that on a T-shirt or something. But hear me out here. I got a sales pitch. Moving on, the number 2 team we have in our Western Conference rankings, and a team I've been on their bandwagon all season long, and my 2 pretty much favorite teams in all season long that haven't been the New York Rangers. We'll be talking about next. But the number 2 spot, the Winnipeg Jets. Marcus White, the Winnipeg Jets. The number 2 our spot in the Western Conference. Depth, scoring, goaltending, defensive prowess. This team has everything, Marcus. I mean, how realistic do you see them having a shot to win the Stanley Cup? Because I think it's as good as any.
Yeah, I like their chances a lot more if they weren't in the Central Division.
I know. The Stam NHL lineman is going to ruin – like the final 4 teams who really should be there are both going to – 2 of them are going to be eliminated in the second round.
And arguably 2 of them are playing in the first round.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, I think Winnipeg's got a really, really good team. I think they're solid. I like Blake Wheeler a lot. I've liked him for a while. And he's been excellent this year. And I want to say there's been a positional change too. Is he playing center now, or is he still a winger?
I got to be honest. I cannot confirm or deny that.
All right. I'm going to check daily faceoff so it doesn't sound like I'm talking out of my bum. But I love the Paul Stastny pickup, and I think he's been playing with Laine mostly, which is just
he's been great.
Talk about an upgrade. No disrespect to the St. Louis Blues, but anytime you could go from playing with whoever you're playing with there to playing with Patrick Laine, he's going to make a nice bit of coin this summer just from having played with Patrick Laine down the
extension. Yeah, Paul Stastny's going to basically get another nice contract. 13 points in 19 games, Paul Stastny, since coming over. Marcus, the Jets have 4 players over 60 points. Another one right on the outside, and Kyle Connor, 57 points. They then, if you want to categorize all those guys, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over, 7 over the 40-point plateau. Another couple guys right behind. They have lethal scoring in their top, I would say 2 or 3 with Blake Wheeler, Laine, and Ehlers. And then Mark Scheifele there as well, Mark Scheifele, by the way, 60 points in 60.
Wheeler is a winger. Can't confirm. He plays with Scheifele.
Scheifele, 60 points in only 60 games too, by the way. So he should probably be up in that 80-point plateau if he was healthy. Their goaltending, we talked about Hellebuck, who's really kind of come into his own this year, Marcus. Has been some questions in years past what he could be, but he's really kind of come into his own. Backup goaltending hasn't been great there, so we talked about that became an issue for them. And then we talked about their matchup with Minnesota, especially with Ryan Suter out there. I kind of seen them having easy pickings here. And I think it's good for Winnipeg to be able to make a run. The team that, moved from Atlanta in 2010-11, they had that one, 14-15, they made the playoffs. They got swept by Anaheim, but all those games are actually close games in that series. I think it's exciting for the NHL. To me, Marcus, if Winnipeg is going to win the Stanley Cup, you need Hellebuck to be Hellebuck, and I think Patrick Laine is going to have to lead the entire league in scoring in the playoff, goal scoring in the playoffs if they're going to go for it.
And yeah, I would agree with that. I think they've got a pretty easy, first round against Minnesota. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on that second round. And I think an X factor, and I'm this is partially just an excuse to talk about him because I still think he's such a great player, and he flies under the radar. I think partially because he's American, partially because he's African American, and he plays in Canada. Dustin Byfuglien is still so good as a defenseman, and their blue line, maybe as much as anybody in the West, matches up with the Nashville Predators blue line. Yep. And if they can 100%. If that blue line can outperform Nashville's, now that's a tall ask of anyone. I think it's possible they make it to a conference final. And, we've seen Byfuglien in the playoffs. Yes, the last time he was there was 2014-15. I don't think anyone's ever going to forget his performance along the way with Chicago when they won the Cup in 2010, which is crazy to think that's been 8 years. Yeah. And now he was a forward then, and now he's one of the best defensemen in the league. And I know there was some drama there earlier in the year, some dissatisfaction with Roll. but they've got Dustin Byfuglien basically on their second pairing, and I don't think any other team in the league can say that except for Nashville, who, depending on how you look at it, either has Roman Josi or PK Subban on their second pairing.
Yeah, depending on who they want to do it and how much they're playing each day of the week. Nashville's blue line, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, obviously, Big Buff, Toby Enstrom, excuse me, Tyler Myers, Marcus, who has kind of reestablished himself, always been a little overhyped, I think probably because of his height. But has done a decent enough job there in Winnipeg this year.
And he's Byfuglien and Trouba kind of take the pressure off of him.
Exactly.
Trouba's emerged. That's another guy who wanted to trade out of there and has emerged as a top pairing defenseman. Byfuglien's right behind him. You got Tyler Myers on your third pairing, you're in good shape. That's
fine. I think that's right where he slots, and that maybe it could play as a 4 guy if you needed him, but ideally on that 5th or 6th man role there. I think it's good for Winnipeg, and they got as good a chance of anybody if they didn't just have to play the number 1 seed we have, which is, of course, our darlings, my de facto rooting interest team, especially having spent some time there over the past few years, the Nashville Predators, Marcus. President's Trophy winners. They go from the last team in last year to now the President's Trophy winners. They're bigger. They're better.
They've never won their division, by the way.
It just shows you unfortunately, Nashville got good at the wrong time because they've been stuck with Chicago this whole freaking time. And
Detroit before that.
And Detroit before that. So they've never been able to get over that hump. They finally do it this year. Marcus, for my money, they're probably the Vegas odds, and they are the Stanley Cup favorite.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's best summed up by the fact that their 5th line in practice the other day was Scott Hartnell, Järnkrok, and Eli Tolvanen, who just tore up the KHL and was maybe one of the best players in the NHL, not playing in the NHL, aside from a soon-to-be New York Ranger, reportedly. That's their 5th line, and that's better than probably Colorado's 3rd line, who they're playing in the first round.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible. We talk about star power, Marcus, being a factor. I think Nashville has star power, but it's more in bunches than individual. They don't necessarily have a Crosby or a McDavid or a Line A, as we talked about in Winnipeg. But Nashville scores in bunches. I mean, so
up front, they don't.
Absolutely. I think on their blue line is superstar caliber, and Pekka Rinne is playing like a superstar right now. Probably the Vezina Trophy favorites. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players north of 50 points. 8 players north of 40 points on their roster. Young depth, in their leading goal scorer, 64 points in only 67 games in Philip Forsberg. PK Subban and Roman Josi both could frankly be in the Norris Trophy finalists this year with the way they have played.
Probably should.
They've just been absolutely electric, both on the blue line. PK Subban playing 82 games this year. Josi in 75. They got depth at every position, Marcus. They got goaltending up the wazoo.
If something happened to Rinne, they maybe have the best backup in the league.
I mean, I was about to get on that because UC Saros is, 22.
How does Nashville keep fighting these guys? Like, first it was not Steve Mason, it was Chris Mason, who they found off the scrap heap. Then it was Dan Ellis, who they also got off the scrap heap. Now Pekka Rinne has been their goalie for like 10 years. UC Saros is going to be their goalie for the next 10 years. Like, no one knows what they're doing with goaltending except Nashville.
It's pretty incredible. They got him right up there.
Thomas Vokoun. How did I forget about that?
Vokoun, that's right. Thomas Vokoun. Nashville's got depth at every position, Marcus. They don't have a single weak spot in that lineup, really. And they have a good coach behind the bench, obviously, and Peter Laviolette. We're both a fan of his. Safe to say, I think it sucks that Winnipeg and Nashville have to play in the next round.
It really stinks.
It really does suck. You'd love to see that be a conference final. Or if we just, Marcus, if we just went 1 through 16, that could be a Stanley Cup final.
Oh, I'd love it.
Just go chaos. To me, Nashville has all the tools in the world to win it. So it's probably as good of a chance as they'll ever have to win it. But you know what? Honestly, with their cap situation, the way they've done things, they should be around for a while here, Marcus. To me, I think very clearly my number 1 team in the West. Yeah,
I think so. And that's not meant to be a knock on Winnipeg. We think, if Winnipeg's in another division, Winnipeg might be better than Tampa. They
definitely argue it for sure.
It's arguable. They might be better than Tampa. Yeah, we it's so chalk, it's so cliche, and I know that so few times the number one seeds actually meet in the Stanley Cup final and blah, 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 blah. But you and I both had this matchup at the beginning of the season, and I don't think we've seen anything to change our minds. Tampa Bay, Nashville, I think these are the best two teams. I think they're the deepest, and I think it'd be the most fun Stanley Cup final. Outside of maybe, Winnipeg, Toronto might be close.
Those would be my next two picks if it wasn't Nashville, Tampa. So I would definitely be Winnipeg, Toronto. So Marcus, let's real quick. We'll do what we did yesterday. We'll go through the matchups here.
Yes, let's do it.
Nashville, Colorado. I'll give Colorado a game. I got Nashville.
I'm gonna say Preds in 4. I think that's the sweep.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. Winnipeg, Minnesota. I got Winnipeg in 5.
I'm going to go a little off the board here. I'm going to say Winnipeg in 6.
It takes them a little bit longer. Dubnyk.
Yeah, I don't buy too much into it, but I think Boudreau is going to find a way to knock some games off, and then they're going to be in the the bubble of the Canadian media are going to say, oh, the boys haven't won a playoff game in their franchise history. Oh, what's going on there? So yeah, Jets in 6. Vegas,
LA, Marcus, a fun one. Did the sweet Golden Knights get it done?
I think they become the first expansion team. I think they'd be the first expansion team since like 67 to win a playoff series.
Since the realignment, yeah, after like 72 when they got more expansion teams. Yeah.
I think they win it in 7 games, which is crazy because the Kings are the more experienced team, but an X factor, they don't have Mr. Game 7 on their roster. Justin Williams.
Marcus, I say home team wins every game in that series. Vegas in 7.
I was going to say the same thing about the next series, and that's why I say Ducks in 7. I think I look at their home records and their road records. I say Ducks in 7, but it's such a coin flip that I think it may come down to one team winning a road game, and if the Sharks win one of the first 2 games in the series, I like their chances a lot going back to SAP Center.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Go Yoki Ryan and the San Jose Sharks in 7 games. Sharks win game 7 in Anaheim.
Wow.
Yep. Moving out then, Marcus. Nashville, Winnipeg. Oh, kills me that we're going to waste a second round series on that.
Oh, I know.
Obviously, we'd like Nashville. I got Nashville in 7 games, though. Winnipeg's going to be that's going to be a bloodbath.
I think they win in 6, but the 6th game is an overtime heartbreaker.
Yeah, Winnipeg blows like a 2-goal third period lead or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I have Vegas, San Jose. You got Vegas, Anaheim. Who you got?
I got Anaheim in 6 in that series.
Yeah, I honestly, whoever wins the Anaheim-San Jose series, I think goes to the conference finals. So because of that, I have San Jose. San Jose in 6. They don't want to go to game 7 in Vegas. So San Jose in 6. If it's Anaheim, I would also pick Anaheim over Vegas as well.
And I would the same with San Jose. I think I'd pick them in the same amount of games too.
Yeah, exactly. So I got Nashville, San Jose, Marcus. You got Nashville Ducks. I got Nashville in 5 or 6 there. I'll say 6. It's a conference final.
I think Nashville in 7.
7 over the Ducks.
I think at that point, whether it's the Sharks or the Ducks, and this is just such a cop-out take, but at that point, I think they're gonna have to have gotten there. There's gonna be, not momentum, but it's crazy things will have happened. I think the Preds might be a little beaten down from the series with the Jets. It might take a little longer. I think that'll be a 7-gamer, and I like the Preds to come out of that as one. Winning game 7 in Smashville.
In Smashville. Wow. Nashville erupts again to go to the Stanley Cup Finals for the 2nd straight year. Marcus, Nashville versus Tampa in the finals. We both have that matchup. Does Nashville get over the hump? Do they find heartbreak again? I got Nashville winning this one.
I do too. I think Nashville in 6.
Yeah, Nashville in 6 sounds about right. Nashville in 6 or 7. I'll
which is, I think, what we said about the Stanley Cup final last year. We were both completely wrong.
What did we say?
I think we ahead of Preds. I think we both said Preds in 6.
Yeah, so it was Penguins in 6. So I'm going to say Preds in 7. because Game 7 in Nashville would be an event and a half.
And a Tampa Bay Lightning going to another Game 7 against a city that is known somewhat for country music. This might be a stretch, but, that'd be pretty fun.
Calgary apparently. Calgary is like the Nashville of
that's Canada. What I'm saying. The poetic. It's
supposed to be a sweet party up there, like during the rodeo and stuff like that.
The Stampede and whatnot.
The Stampede, yeah, all that good stuff. There it is, Marcus. Stanley Cup playoffs done Pucklehead style. Of course, I mean, take it to the bank. These are all.
Even though we didn't officially pick a team from Anaheim, San Jose, because it was so close. Everything we said is a lock.
It's a lock. Either way you go for that, it's a lock. You're right. Don't forget about it. Go straight to your guy, or to your.
Or if you're living in a place where it's legal, go to your guy. If your guy is an institution.
Fingers crossed that it gets legalized, so I can just go to Monmouth Park and do that. With me and Wyshynski will be at Monmouth Park betting on the ponies and betting on the Jets and the Giants there.
I think we should do Conn Smythe predictions too. I think we should do fun. I think we should do Conn Smythe, some of the other stuff surrounding the playoffs. So I got before we get to Conn Smythe, I got a fun one for you. Who is most likely to have a column written about them being the best player in the world when Sidney Crosby's team is eliminated from the playoffs? We haven't had it happen the last couple of years, but previously, every time Crosby's team would get eliminated, seemingly every week we'd have is player X the best player in the world? Is it Jonathan Taves? Is it Drew Doughty? Is it Sidney Crosby? And I'm writing a counter fact, a counter argument. So assume we both have the Penguins getting bounced in the conference final. But even if they get bounced further, so you could operate under the wildest assumptions possible. It's just assuming the Penguins get eliminated. Sure. Even if they don't, who has the take written about them being the best player in the world?
Okay, I got a couple.
The first one, not the last, the first one.
Okay, I got two popped into my head immediately, and it just depends on scenarios about when Pittsburgh gets eliminated.
Okay.
If Pittsburgh were to lose in the first or second round and Boston advance somehow, it's going to be Patrice Bergeron.
Yes, that is a great take.
Because Boston sports writers have nothing better to do with their lives except if Pittsburgh lost either Philly or maybe like Boston beat Tampa to get to the conference, something like that. Even if it was Boston versus Pittsburgh and like Crosby hasn't been like maybe quite the best player for his team, like maybe Malkin or someone's carrying the load. Right. Like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's Bergeron versus Crosby, and I think Patrice Bergeron is the best well-rounded hockey player we've seen since, XYZ, whoever the hell you want to put. So that's the first one that popped into my mind. And then I'll go a Western Conference one, too.
Well, now you're already wrong because it won't be. Because Chicago's done.
You're right. It couldn't be a Western Conference player.
Who would you have? No, who would you have? I'm kidding. Who would you say would have the take written about them?
It wouldn't be anybody in Winnipeg because no one cares about Winnipeg. Just because of market value. If like Anze Kopitar had an insane first round of the playoffs,
because I don't think it's going to be Kopitar. I think it's going to be Doughty if he has. Doughty. There's already this like odd not fascination, but he was pretty much anointed the Norris Trophy winner before the 2016 season and won the award. And he's actually, it's another guy like Quick who, yes, people can have their issues with, who's been really, really good this year.
Yeah.
And better probably in years where people have said that. So he'd be my West pick. But I think there's really only one good answer. And if Toronto advances past the first round, you're going to see not only is Austin Matthews the best player in the world take, you're also going to see a ton of is Austin Matthews better than Connor McDavid takes because
that's a great one. Yeah, that's going to be a great one.
It's all recency bias. It's all the postseason. Oh, what have you done for me lately when it matters the most? I think it's coalescing into a perfect storm. However, if they don't advance, I think you're also going to see columns that will ask if Austin Matthews is truly as good as we've made him out to be.
Yeah, he's screwed in either direction. He's screwed. They lose in the first round, they'll be like, well, Matthews couldn't get it done in the playoffs. And he'll have 5 points in 7 games, something like that. It'll be decent.
Exactly.
He'll lead the team in shots. He's like, yeah, but he wasn't clutch.
Exactly. Precisely.
That's a fun.
There's no doubt in my mind. I think Bergeron's a good pick though, because he's definitely going to get the the best hockey player has to be good at both ends, which like completely undervalues how good Crosby is defensively. As is the case with most of these superstars. So yeah, my vote would be Austin Matthews or Drew Doughty. But I think your Bergeron or Kopitar ones are also very good.
Yeah, those would be fun ones.
No, going from the GOAT, the greatest of all time, to a GOAT. Here's another fun one before the Conn Smythe. Which player is most likely to be blamed for his team's playoff failure, even if it's not his fault? And I know I kind of gave an answer previously with Austin Matthews, so let's rule Matthews out of this.
Okay, so we're gonna rule Matthews out. Are we going just players or goaltenders too?
Oh, everybody.
The two that pop into my head, just because he's had issues in the past. One is Bobrovsky.
Another great take.
Columbus. And then I also think pick your poison with anybody in Nashville because they're such the favorites. So I'll say PK Subban as well.
Oh, those are excellent.
Because just because
off the board, I think even though he's missed games in the past because he's gotten hurt, which isn't exactly his fault, but like they'll find a way to blame the player anyway. John Gibson, if the Ducks lose, and he's not.
Yeah, the Ducks are another team that has struggled to get over that hump sometimes. Yeah,
and he always seems to get the blame more so than like Corey Perry or Ryan Getzlaf.
Yeah.
Because he's the young, for whatever reason. So I think Gibson potentially. I don't think because the Sharks made that run to the Cup final, and Joe's probably not going to play. And, a lot of the guys are pretty kind of impervious to that. Not impervious, but if there is going to be someone, I think it's going to be a young guy. No one on the Kings will get blamed if they get eliminated. Nor will Marc-Andre Fleury, because the guy was
he's now the darling of the
he was the worst of two goalies in 2012 in the epic battle between Ilya Bryzgalov for who could let in more goals. And nobody seems to remember that.
Speaking of which, NHL Network, I got it on mute in the background here. They're showing highlights of that Penguins Flyers series.
I hope every series is like that.
Just all these fights. There's Zach Rinaldo not playing hockey.
So I think John Gibson's a good answer. And I think someone in Tampa is going to get blamed. Like someone with the Lightning is going to get scapegoated a little bit here if they don't advance. I had a really good one off the top of my head that wasn't Austin Matthews that I think would also be a good example. But yeah, I'm with you. I think goalie who's really, really good that people will say, oh, doesn't get it done in the playoffs, or player on one of the favorites.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think it'll be Stamkos. Probably, I got it. It's going to be Kucherov.
I was going to say Kucherov's the obvious pick in Tampa.
He's gonna score 1.5 points a game and he'll get blamed.
It's not. They're not. Yeah, they're not going to blame Stamkos.
No. Do you have any other interesting playoff hypotheticals before we get to the Conn Smythe?
First team to have issues with throwing stuff on the ice from the fans.
Oh wow. That's good.
Does it come back? Is next? Because we always have Nashville, and of course
Nashville's the favorite. But you're also asking if a new tradition's going to start.
Yeah, give me a new tradition that could potentially start.
That's great.
Something's got to happen.
I don't think Toronto's
going to happen in Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas is going to have to do something. Do they start throwing cards on the ice?
I think they should throw. Yeah, that'd be good if you threw cards on the ice. I also think. Have you seen Black Panther yet?
I have not.
Okay, so I won't make. I was gonna make you know what? I'll make the joke. You haven't seen it, but there's a scene in the movie where Eric Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan's character, asks, "Is this your king?" And I think the moment the Kings get eliminated, we're gonna see a Photoshop of shirtless Michael B. Jordan with a Golden Knights logo asking, "Are these your Kings?" I might be the one to make it, but I think that's a guarantee. That's not throwing on the
fair.
ice.
You put it out there.
I don't think the Maple Leafs fans are gonna throw bear carcasses onto the ice to intimidate the Bruins fans. I don't think.
Oh man, I'm trying to. What else could Vegas throw on the ice?
I think cards are. I think throwing. It just cards are hard to throw. You know,
the cards are hard to throw. You got to have something a little more. Yeah. Maybe just like pounds of cocaine. Just.
I think like poker chips.
Oh, poker chips! That would be so good. How did I not think of poker chips?
People with poker chips.
Yes, they're whipping them at the Kings players. That would be hilarious, actually.
I don't think we see any throwing, catfish included.
I hope the catfish come back.
I hope the catfish come back too, and even Max show up.
What if the Sharks fans should start chumming the ice?
Well, some have thrown like
chum the ice.
Threw like a shark once, and it was like, whoa, okay.
Chum the ice a little bit.
I know. I mean, yeah. Without the Red Wings, you know, with the octopus, which would be guaranteed. I don't think the catfish happens. You know, I think there's maybe the Penguins, the Flyers fans throw a sheet sub on the ice to show that Wawa's better.
That's right. Because Wawa is better.
Wow, that'd be a fun podcast if we had ranked these teams by potential throwable objects. Like if we either found their like traditions, like I mean, obviously, or just if you threw their logo, power rankings of if you threw their logo onto the ice, what would be the most terrifying? I think it's going to be the Lightning, because if fans are throwing lightning bolts, like, it's going to be scary.
Man. I mean, if you're getting Sharks are scary, Bears are scary, you know. I mean, although Jets, I mean,
yeah, if you're throwing a full fighter jet.
Sure, fighter jet just coming in and just fucking taking the place out, that could be intense.
That'd be more intense than anything we're going to see in the postseason. So yeah, we've delayed long enough with these fun hypotheticals. Conn Smythe winner, who you got?
If Nashville's winning it, to me, it's going to be either Pekka Rinne or PK Subban.
I would say it's going to be Rinne or Yossi before it goes to Subban.
That's fair. Yossi too.
Not that Subban will deserve it less than Roman Yossi.
Yeah. If I have Tampa in it there, then too. Hedman. I like Hedman.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a good case, especially if he has to lug Dan Girardi around the ice.
I was gonna say Hedman's gonna play so many minutes, he's gonna score points.
I like those choices. Dark horse from the non Lightning or Preds teams.
As a player or a team?
Either, yeah. A Conn Smythe dark horse and a Cup dark horse.
Conn Smythe dark horse. Goodness me. The problem is I feel like a goalie always freaking wins it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pick a goalie because that's just so boring to me. I want a player to put his team on his back. Artemi Panarin.
That's who I was gonna go with. I think if the Jackets get there, he's gonna have to be special.
Yeah, he's gonna have to carry that team. He would be my dark horse. And dark horse team. I mean, I don't know. Winnipeg's not a dark horse team. I mean,
nor is Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's not a dark horse. Dark horse team. I'll say Columbus. Screw it. I'll say Columbus.
Torts.
I like Columbus.
Long overdue glory. I'm gonna say it against my better judgment, but they've been doing it all year.
Oh God,
the Vegas Golden Knights. I know it's got to end at some point, but like, are you really, given what we've seen so far and how ridiculous this year has been, are you going to really be surprised if
Marcus, it is Vegas, baby. Let it ride. Let it ride.
My serious dark horse, though, I don't even know. You can't really call them a dark horse because they play in such a, major spot. But Toronto's not as far off from those top two teams in the division.
No, they're not. They're not.
Winner of Anaheim, San Jose, I think also potential dark horse.
Sure.
So every team in the league, dark horse.
Every team in the league is a dark horse.
But yeah, we've ranked them 1 through 8 in each conference. We like the Preds. We like the Lightning. Looks like playoffs are going to start here in about 45 to 30. 45 to an hour. What's 45 plus 30? That's 75. That's an hour 15. So 45 to an hour 15. Because the games are going to be listed as 4, but then they're going to start closer to it's a whole thing. But this was fun. I'm glad we got to do this. We should do it again soon. Hopefully next week. If not then, definitely by the start of the second round.
Yeah.
I think we're both going to be pretty busy here coming up. So Until then, for Conall McNeilis, I'm Marcus White. Thank you as always for tuning in, watching this, listening to this, whatever you do with it. Even if you just hit play and mute it, I appreciate all of you too, because we care a ton about the viewers and listeners, and by that I mean we're just doing it because we enjoy it. So
like and subscribe, though. Like
and subscribe. Leave us a review on our YouTube comments, or just harass us on YouTube.
I was gonna say, or just rip us apart. I don't really care.
We just like engagement. So until next time, we're signing off.